Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, hello, enrichers, and we are super excited to get started today with our very first podcast show. This is your host, Carter Wilcoxon, joined with my co-host,
Tim James.
Mr. Tim James, Mr. Chemical Body himself. Tim, thank you very much for joining me and being my co-host.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining me and being my co-host. It's we're going to be like the Wonder Twins, bro, for health and wealth.
Absolutely.
It's like, stick your hand out. It's power activated, bro. Yeah, we really want to help you guys stack the cash and truly, like we said in the intro, is like and live long enough to really enjoy it.
Yeah. So, what does that work-life balance really look like? And this show is going to be demonstrating all of those things that you're going to need to incorporate the work-life balance with your family and with your business and everything that it takes to be able to live a long, healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, guys, we're excited for you guys to be here. Carter and I are thinking about starting this thing off like just kind of who's Carter and who's Tim. So why don't we just get into you, Carter? Like, what's your backstory? Because we're on a mission here, guys. We are on a mission to help financial advisors, business professionals, investors, or just anyone who wants to exceed in their health and their wealth and other areas of their life, which we'll get into because everything's connected, right? So, Carter, where do you come from? And how did you get to where you're at now? What are you doing? What's your purpose? What's your life's work? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, hey, Tim, thank you very much for that. I got to tell you, I'm very excited about this. It is something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. We'll eventually get into how you and I, met and everything, and how the podcast is becoming a reality today. Podcast number 1, and I'm very excited about being able to go back. A side note on once we get this up and going. When we look back years from now, when we're on podcast number 642, to look back on podcast number 1, it'll be interesting. So with that, perfect segue. I have been in the financial services business for almost 2 decades now, but my background really comes from training. I used to be a former golf pro. I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona about 25 years ago, got into the golf business, which led me into the restaurant business, and that ultimately got me to become a national trainer for P.F. Chang's. Most of our listeners have been to a P.F. Chang's all over. In fact, when I first started at P.F. Chang's back in 2 months prior to 9/11, it was a very, there was maybe 35 restaurants total of P.F. Chang's. I think they have like 400 or something like that now. And then
I remember when that thing came in, it was a big talk. P.F. Chang's, we got to go to P.F. Chang's. I remember getting like salad rolls there or something with peanut sauce. They were really good.
Actually what you're talking about are the lettuce wraps.
Yep, that's it. The lettuce wraps.
Lettuce wraps. They were the thing. And that was part of my training. So that's where I really sort of embraced this idea of knowledge and client experience. And then whenever I started CSI Financial Group from the space that I'm in over 2 decades now, about 6 years ago, it was really to set out on this journey to do 3 things better than anybody else in our space. We've been laser focused on client acquisition. So these 3 things, number 1 is to elevate the client experience. Now, the clients can be a whole host of, who are your clients, right, Tim? Who are the advisors' clients? I'm talking specifically the advisors that we work with through the advisor network, elevating those clients' experience with a process that we've refined and developed over the last 3 years. That then, number 2, really helps to create what I call professional contrast, right? What makes you different as an advisor It's a super competitive space. And, we're going to get to talk a little bit about when I interview you on why we ultimately decided to start doing this health and wealth podcast. But it all leads back to that competitive environment. And then number 3, and probably the key component, if done properly, if following the process properly, what it ultimately does is competitor proofs your ideal clients. So that was really what I wanted to set out on this journey to do. And that's exactly what we've been refining for the last 3 years. So, CSI Financial Group formed July 2014. As I said, we just surpassed 6 years in our own super competitive space. And it's been a whirlwind, and I've surrounded myself. This is sort of the secret to my success, quote unquote, is you surround yourself with people that know more than you know. And that's what I've prided myself in, is making sure I surround myself with very smart, intellectual, established specialists in this area, what we call a multidisciplinary team approach. So that was really how I got up and running and started in that focus in the beginning. And that's now has led us to starting our own podcast together.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And again, for those of you listening, his background is he's currently right now has a business. He's helping financial advisors, and that's kind of how we were getting connected, because I was a financial advisor prior to getting into the health industry. So, I've taken my Series 7, my 66, got my life insurance license, went through all that stuff. And I know what that lifestyle is like, right? So what I was impressed with was the results you were getting for your clients, because I was like, well, shit, dude, if I was doing financial advising, I would totally hire you again, because, we understood that, you can be the best financial advisor in the world. I mean, you can have the best stock picks, how to move money around, you're on it 24/7, you're living it and breathing it, and you have strategies that work, right? But if you have nobody to talk to, like my advisor, Jeff Dixon, he was one of the top independent financial advisors in the nation. He said, you're all dressed up and you got nowhere to go, right? You got nobody to talk to. You're like a dentist. If your hands aren't in somebody's mouth, you're losing money, right? It's the same thing. Rent, utilities, employees, staff, taxes. I mean, it all starts adding up. Fees, tests, ongoing education, all that stuff. So we have to have marketing. And your business is so much more than marketing. It's like a full package. Why don't you just tell them that story, that lady you told me earlier this morning, about how you helped her put together the first deal and then what her results were?
Yeah. So this is actually phenomenal. It's in real time. It just happened today. In fact, I got an update even from the earlier story I told you today. So let me start off with saying that, to your point, and I say this in my recruiting videos and my marketing videos, where I'm trying to, recruit advisors to be like, hey, we've got the solutions for you. It all begins and ends with client acquisition. To your point, you can have the best products in the world. Product is not the unmet need in our industry. And if you have nobody to sell or tell those stories to, your solutions to, then it doesn't matter. I mean, you can tell yourself all day long in your own echo chamber, if you will. That's not going to pay the bills. You've got to find a process that gets your knowledge in front of them and shares that knowledge. And it compels your audience to want to engage your services. So that's what the part of the total package is all about. So I just had an advisor that was formerly living in Illinois. And she had some things that have happened over the last 6 months that were forcing her to have to reevaluate what it was we were doing with her. We had partnered her up with another advisor there locally, but her own family was having some issues. They ultimately had to move. They made the family decision to move to where his family lives in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas. So she's like, oh my goodness, Carter, I'm scared to death. I'm going to have to do this on my own now. And I've had all this help along the way in Illinois, but are you still going to be able to provide all the same help that I was getting there? But I don't have to take the ball and run with it and do it, a lot of it on my own. So I said, don't worry, we're going to get you taken care of. So she bought into the full package that we have. There's a very small cost. I think of it like a franchise, right? I mean, think about if you had the ability to start up a McDonald's franchise, knowing what you know now, with that startup cost. I mean, if you had the money to do it, when would you have started, right? You would have done it immediately. right? So that's essentially what
I would have made it healthy, though. They've been healthy burgers.
well, healthy burger, exactly. But if you're thinking monetarily, right, you're thinking, I'm going to start a McDonald's franchise because it's going to be a game changer for me and my family. So that's what we've really essentially created, is this franchise opportunity without a franchise tag or franchise price.
Right.
So she bought into everything we do. We build out the websites for her. We do all the SEO. We do the marketing. We make her look bigger, literally overnight, to than she actually is. Perception is reality. So we fill the room. We have all these clients, prospects, if you will, that come in. They get the topic that we have provided for her. She does the presentation. And then I get an update today. This was just on Tuesday. She had a lunch event and a dinner event. I speak to one of our network attorneys that was there, that was helping, get that going for her in that area. And then she ends up creating this opportunity, AKA appointments, she has 15 set appointments from the clients during this COVID environment, live event, that she has already, and this is the update, she's had 2 appointments today. She's onboarded 2 households today. So she's batting 1,000 simply because of the topic that we help clients with, which is estate planning. We help to demystify what that is. And if you follow in fact, that third thing that I talked about earlier, if you do it properly, you're going to competitor proof your ideal clients. Well, I also forewarn advisors this. Careful what you wish for, because I know traditional challenges that advisors have is client acquisition, which is why that's our whole focus is client acquisition.
A lot of businesses, that's their biggest problem.
They
got a great idea. Oh my God, I got my great grandfather's recipe. It's going to be a hit. It's going to be a while before you're the soup Nazi.
Where do I get the clients? What do I do? How do I tell everybody, right? So I figured it all out. That's the whole thing. I went out, I researched, I found the people, the vendors, the tech stacks, you name it, softwares, everything, the people, the processes, the solutions.
Yeah.
You find all that stuff, and then you deliver it for our clients who are advisors. But I go, careful what you wish for, because if you do this properly, these are going to be your clients in perpetuity. So you might want to learn how to be a little bit more selective on who it is you actually want to work with, because we're looking to help our advisors create what we call a 4A client. They have to have the right attitude, the right aptitude, the right amount of assets, which ultimately can help them become advocates, become a raving fan for what it is that you do, whoever that advisor partner is. So that's what we just got through doing. So here is this lady who's barely been in the financial services arena for maybe 3 years. You go on her website. She looks like she's been around forever, looks unbelievably impressive. This team that surrounds her with all these things that we do. And then we provide all the support that she needs all along the way, as well as her clients. So in a brand new environment that she's in, now she's already, bringing clients in. Now, let's talk about what's been happening, Tim, over the last 6 months, right? Because this is podcast number 1, so we never want to forget this.
Well, this is like, we're right in the middle of COVID, so you should call this the COVID package.
Exactly.
It's COVID proof your business.
Exactly. Now, her ideal clients, who tend to be, mid 50s to upper 80s, right? Those who are in their, they've already gone through their accumulation stage. Now they're in their preservation stage, which is what we specialize in, right? So those people, typically speaking, and most people think this, even though come to find out it's not really true, aren't really online, aren't really on Facebook, or aren't really, buying into the whole online digital transformation age that we are in. But what's happened since, February really is it's forced these ideal clients to get comfortable being online, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now your online presence is that much more important. And I knew this. Inherently, I knew this. So when we created the COVID package, as you call it, that's why we knew that advisors, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to put things together. So we just build it all for them. They pay the franchise, price for it, which is super cost effective, and then we're ultimately going to help them, 5x or 10x their business.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, man. Like I said, if I was a financial advisor, I've already referred you to a couple advisors that I know. So it's like a dream, especially somebody that's not tech savvy, right? All right, guys. So that's Carter. Now, why don't you just real quick, tell them about your about where you're at with, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about on the money side, about wealth and how you want to, and your backstory?
I really want to kind of sort of give my backstory. I mean, I touched on a little bit about, where I come from, but I absolutely have to. It's critical for me to let everybody know who Christina is. Christina is my wife. And honestly, if you ever get a chance to meet her, you'll get a chance to see how I outpunted my coverage on this deal.
We'll bring her on the show.
Yeah, we will have her on the show. But she's a fitness, guru. She's a team beach body coach. I mean, she's always making sure I'm trying to eat healthy as much as possible, which segued right into, how we got started together. It is part of our makeup at home anyway. And it is important because she wants me. She's 7 years my junior. So she wants me to be around for a really, really long time. So she's adamant about that. But honestly, if it wasn't for her drive and for her support that I get to do all the things that I do, building CSI Financial Group, we wouldn't be where we're at today. I mean, she is the catalyst. She's the glue that binds not only our household, but also allows and affords me to be able to do all the things that it is that I'm doing, growing and building CSI Financial Group. So that support is super important. Knowing that is why support is the fourth pillar to our advisor partner platform. We have to provide the support and emphasize how we're going to be there for you and not make you wonder, what happens once I decided to start doing business with you? Are you going to actually still be there? So, born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, I'm a hillbilly.
That's why you like beer so much.
That's why I like beer so much. That's exactly right. I got to steer clear of that as best I can. But yeah, I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona 25 years ago. And, I really never looked back. Arkansas and by way of Kansas City, they're great places to be from. And it's great to be a Chiefs fan right now too, by the way, which I'm a huge Chiefs fan, Patrick Mahomes. So, and then my wife, she went to Baylor University. She's a Big 12, girl herself. So, that we have a lot of things in common, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the whole key to my success. And I said it earlier.
Basically, the reality is that it's the Christina show. You should just go home.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
hey man, you're gonna work late. We're both working late tonight. What did she bring you?
She brought me a 6-pack of beer so that I can,
beer.
Be able to
trying to get this guy healthy, man.
I know. Beer.
Your wife that means she's awesome because she wants you to be as healthy as possible, but she also understands that keeping you in good spirits. It's not like you do it every night. If he didn't have Christina, he probably would do it every night. He'd be a walking heart attack. But thank God for her, right?
Balance, baby. It's all about balance.
Cool. Well, man, that's awesome. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll probably get into another story of somebody else on this podcast. Who would that be? We'll be right back. Okay, Enrichers, Tim James here with my host, Carter Wilcoxon.
Hey, Enrichers, how you doing, everybody?
All right, well, Carter, you just got done sharing with us a lot about your backstory and what you do for a living. I thought, like I said, it was really interesting to me. I'm like, wow. And, and then I got to meet Christina. She's super cool. You guys did that live that one night. That was fun.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. So, and what I want to do next is, Tim, I want to go ahead and kind of, a bit of about you, your why, you're doing what you're doing. I know you've talked a little bit out on the first segment on how you used to be a financial advisor formerly and everything, and you understand and appreciate on what it is that we're doing. And then that was my big interest in doing something like this with you because of your background and experience, but because, Chemical Free Body, your business is something that I became a huge fan of. So if you don't mind, let's kind of talk a little bit about, your why and what it is that you've been doing with Chemical Free Body.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. So we've got like, when you're a financial advisor and you're out hustling, and before that, I was a mortgage broker for 10 years. So I had, 17 years there and a couple other businesses and stuff like that. So what ended up happening was I got to know a lot of other business professionals and their professions very well, from mortgage people to real estate agents, both residential and commercial, and you got appraisers, both residential and commercial, insurance agents, P&C agents, CPAs, attorneys. You get to know all these people, and even when you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with teachers and nurses and doctors and firefighters. And so when you're in the people business, you're talking to a lot of people all the time, whether they're in your industry or clients. So I spent over 20 years just kind of really getting to know people, right? And what they do for a living and stuff like that. So with that background, but before all that happened is, I grew up over in Eastern Oregon on a cattle and hay farm. And I hunted and fished a lot, and meat was a big part of my diet. It was part of being a man, and you got to have protein, right, if you're going to build muscle. And, fast forward 37 years, I was 37 years old, and I'm married, kids, house, mortgage, coaching, baseball, basketball, doing, the dad thing, enjoying it. And then, my health had really failed me. I was an athlete. I played baseball at a high level for 30 years. And every year I kept gaining a couple pounds. And eventually I had eczema on both of my elbows. It was cracking and bleeding on my shirts and, my dress shirts. And it's embarrassing on people's couches. And I had a huge patch of eczema on my knee. I was acid reflux all day long, eating Tums and Rolaids. Finally, it led to the point where I had blood coming out rectally. I was literally pooping rocks and blood was coming out. And I was like, oh, I hope that goes away. And, and I'm overweight. I'm not sleeping well. And I don't have energy like I used to. And then my assistant got me on coffee. And I was doing coffees twice a day. I'm like, why am I so dehydrated? I drink all this coffee. I'm drinking all that liquid. I didn't know that freaking coffee dehydrates you. I didn't know any of that shit. It's like, I thought I knew about health, but I didn't, right? I thought you eat a ton of meat and you drink dairy for strong bones and you're pretty much, you drink some juices and stuff like that in your diet. So luckily I grew up on a farm and I knew a lot about growing vegetables and, and fresh foods and stuff like that. And I was always eating apples my whole life. But besides the apples, everything was pretty much cooked. If we had broccoli, dude, it was like in a vat of butter, right? So it was steamed and we put butter melted all over it.
You didn't put the Velveeta cheese on the top of it while you're at it?
Probably do. We had all that stuff. All of it. Like the spray cheeses and the cheese whiz and, sardines and oysters and just, ho-hos and ding-dongs and yum-yums and, all of it. Twinkies, all this stuff.
The American diet.
Pizza, pasta, all that stuff. So guess what? Here I was, 37 years old, still, fairly young man. I got a family and a wife and I still got a lot of years ahead of me, and like I'm falling apart. And it's embarrassing to take your shirt off. You've been an athlete your whole life, and you're just like, you used to being fit, and all of a sudden you look at yourself and you still think you're fit, but you're not. Okay, it ain't there anymore because you didn't know what you didn't know. That was my case. I let it go, but I had all these outside factors, which I'll get into. So anyway, fast forward, my buddy gets cancer on my baseball team, Clay, and he dies of stomach cancer, does chemo, surgery, or whatever, radiation. And he died, left 3 little boys behind from ages 6 to 17. So that was a real shocker to a lot of us. If us guys were all crying at the funeral, we did a fundraiser for him. And then a few years later, one of my best friends at age 43 gets diagnosed with this chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is this blood cancer deal. And he drops the bomb on me, and I'm like, whoa, like he's toast, man. It's like, you get cancer, you die. My grandma died of it. My aunt died of it. Calais died of it. And now Charles has got it. I'm thinking, geez, these guys are my age. So now I'm starting to freak out. I'm bleeding out my guts, literally. My elbows are bleeding. Think about this. I'm bleeding every day. And not telling it, It's crazy to think about. I can't even believe that was me looking back. So Charles is like, yeah, I'm going to go to this detox nutrition healthy food clinic in Florida called Hippocrates Health Institute. I want you to go with me to support me. And I'm like, dude, whatever, I'm in. I didn't even hear what he said. I wanted to support my buddy. And then on the plane flight there, he's like, oh, by the way, there's no meat, no dairy, no salt, no sugar, nothing cooked over 115 degrees. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? No meat. I'm flipping out inside, but I'm like, okay, they have salads or something. Obviously they've been in business 61 years. They got to feed them something. I'll figure it out. I'm kind of freaked out, but focus on your buddy's cancer, help him out. So we go there, and here's what happened. Day 1, my acid indigestion's gone. I go through a detox because they took me off the standard American diet, put me on this just lots of fresh water and fresh green juices and wheatgrass shots and all sprouts and salads and sprouted nuts and seeds and grains and beans and use all this stuff and therapies. And the first class that I went to was called Internal Awareness. And this is where I learned, Carter, that, and for those of you listening out there, that the average person, you listening, the average person like me has 6 to 12 pounds of this impacted fecal material, mucoid plaque building up. It's built up in our colon from many circumstances, mainly a lack of hydration and water. And it's a problem because it's supposed to be a waste removal system, not a storage tank, and it putrefies and it starts destroying you from the inside out. And it's one of the reasons I believe that cancer gets started. And there's a soup of chemicals and fermentation, and over the years, eventually it breaks down, and then eventually the small intestine starts getting full of a mucoid plaque. So they're telling us about all this stuff. This doctor comes out. He's 50 years old. He looks like he's 40. He's built like unbelievable. Him and his wife were bodybuilders. I couldn't even believe it when he said he hadn't had meat in 10 years. I'm flipped. I'm like, what?
You're like, wait, you're supposed to get your protein from meat.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I haven't had meat in 10 years. And he wasn't lying to me. I'm like, whoa, this guy's blowing my whole world right now. I'm like, what? And he's like, he looked 10 years younger. So he tries to sell us on he basically tells us from what happens to food by the time you eat it and the time it exits your body and everything in between. And after that, I'm like, wow, how come nobody taught me this before? And he was trying to sell us on a colonic or colon hydrotherapy session. You know what those are?
Sounds like a lot of water.
Yeah, it's water up your butt is basically what it is. So you set on a tube rectally, and water goes in and out of you gently for about an hour, and it cleans your colon.
Okay.
Right? And I'm thinking, I'm elbowing Charles. I'm like, look, dude, I come here to help you out, but I ain't doing that deal.
I came here to support you. Be like, come on, buddy, let's go.
Yeah, but when this guy, dude, 3.5 hours later, this guy breaks all this stuff down, well, anyway, I'll tell you about the record. But I was like, sign me up. So the next day, I go in there, they weigh me, I do the deal, they weigh me again, 10 pounds of impacted feet. I weigh 10 pounds less.
Wow.
The record at the institute was like 28 pounds. One lady lost like 28 pounds of impacted fecal material in one session at that deal. Wow. So I'm like, oh my God, so guess what? I lost weight, but it wasn't like fat weight. It was dead weight. It was putrefying, gross, disgusting weight that was fermenting my colon. And almost everybody's walking around with this stuff. And I'm like, when I found that out, I'm like, I want that stuff out of there. Because it houses harmful organisms like viruses and bacteria and mold and yeast and fungus, and parasites love it. And so do mutagens, these cancers, because it creates a low oxygen, very high acid environment. And at the Institute, what they taught us is you want to be a very high alkaline body and high oxygen, because harmful organisms, they hate oxygen and alkalinity. So when you change the internal terrain of your colon and your whole entire digestive tract, you'll change your life, because all those bad bugs will pack their bags and leave, because you're creating an inhospitable environment for them, and you're creating a very hospitable environment for your body to heal from the inside out. And that's why these guys and gals that were working at that institute that look 10 to 20 years younger than their age look that way, is because they healed themselves on the inside. So I come back home, my friends, I start growing sprouts like crazy. They come over, start asking questions. Before too long, I'm teaching classes twice a week, speaking to hospitals and churches. I taught over 4,000 people how this lifestyle. And finally, after, and I'm still the financial advisor, right? I'm getting up in the morning, literally, dude, and growing sprouts for 40 to 50 families a week and delivering them myself, and getting up at 4 a.m. and doing this in a suit and tie, delivering sprouts all over. We finally went to drop spots, and then I got another guy to help me do all the deliveries and the growing, because it was getting out of hand, because all these people kept showing up to my classes. I heard about you from this person, heard about you from that. My yoga instructors would bring whole groups of people, and we would do these big juicing or dinner classes. It was crazy. And but it was the most exciting, the most fun thing that I could ever imagine, because in 60 days, I had lost the 38 pounds. The eczema on my elbows was completely gone. The fat skin issue on my shoulder I didn't tell you about was gone too. In 8 months, that patch on my knee was gone. And I went from XLs and larges in my suits and stuff and shirts to mediums and smalls, like I was in high school and freshman in college, junior in college. And it was just like, boom, like that. So I healed myself, and I've been able to maintain that for 10 years. I still doubted myself, though, is like what I wanted to do, because I was still doing financial advising to make a living at that point. But I realized that my true passion was helping people, but I was very scared. I was scared to make that transition. So it wasn't until the untimely death of my little brother that got me to change my mind. So my brother Troy was riding his mountain bike with a couple buddies, full gear, helmet and everything. One was his buddy was an EMT. The other one was like was an EMT and a fireman, I think. and the right people to be with you, right? But he went off a jump and broke his neck and died. And that rocked me for about 6 months. I wasn't stupid enough to pound the walls or anything and hurt myself, but I would slam my bed really hard a lot. And just like, why? Because we had all these plans together to have this farm in Hawaii, and it was really sad. And then one day I was like, I just was sitting in my office home, and I looked up and I was like, Troy, what do you want me to do? And I remember screaming out at the top of my lungs, and I heard him say, do what you love and do it now. So I picked up my phone and I called Jeff, my financial advisor, Jeff Dixon. And I said, hey, man, he's my mentor. I'm like, I'm out. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm out. I'm getting out of the financial services industry. I'm going to go do this. And the financial services industry is awesome. I'm not telling everybody to go be a health coach. It was just something that happened to me. It inspired me. And this is what my true calling was. What I liked about financial advising was I could help people. I could help them not lose their money. I could help them, prepare and plan for things and do the estate planning and not be stupid with taxes, because it's not what you make, it's what you get to keep. So the tax side is just as important as making it or growing it, right? So anyway, Jeff's like, well, how are you going to make a living? I'm like, I have no idea. So I bought a dry erase board, started scratching stuff up. I lived up my savings for 2.5 years. I just started coaching people for free, kept doing the classes, and eventually it turned into a coaching program. And then eventually through frustration, which, we'll maybe one of these another show will expose the dangers of supplementation today and what's going on. I mean, 95 to 98% of it you can't put in your body. There's toxins in it. Toxins in most of them. So if you haven't done supplements in your life, you're probably in a better place than you would have been, because they put a lot of stuff in those things. So we developed our own detox and nutrition line simply to have tools for our coaching clients that we could trust, because I got tired of reading labels, and the big companies like Nestle would buy them and they change the ingredients or something like that. So anyway, so that's my story. And the best part of the whole story was within 2.5 years, my friend Charles had healed himself of that chronic lymphocytic leukemia. He beat cancer. He beat bankruptcy. He's back doing mortgages again. He's crushing it. He's doing like loans now. He's got this whole mobile home program thing he's got going on. He started a band. He's playing guitar. He's happy. He got to see his son graduate high school, and he got to go to father-son weekend in college. And we got to watch all that transpire over the last 10 years. And those were his main goals when he first stepped foot in the Hippocrates Health Institute. We just took the thing, Carter, and ran with it and changed our lives.
Yeah, well, one of the things, one of the very first conversations that you and I ever had when you were sharing the story with me, and I was blown away, is you used the terminology that he said to you, like, oh my goodness, I found the fountain of youth here. This is what the fountain of youth is like. And it's funny, the lives that a lot of us lead, we really think like there's this magic pill, we just take it, or it's this fountain of youth that we just find. A lot of it is knowledge, right? And understanding, learning things you don't know, right? And help you in the health and the wealth that you're trying to achieve and accomplish. But that fountain of youth isn't just like a pill or just like literally a fountain that you jump into and all of a sudden you're youthful. But the effect of what you're trying to achieve, that fountain of youth, is something that your health and your wealth will create. And when you told that story to me before, I was intrigued. I'm like, well, tell me more about your products. I can't wait to hear more about them. And then, of course, I'm also a client, right? So I got your all the goodies that you sent me in the package that I got, and as a first time client, you're like, hey, I'll get you a discount and everything. So that was very kind of you. But it's amazing when you start taking the right ingredients. You start putting the right ingredients in you. It's amazing what comes out of you.
Yeah, and what it really is the fountain of youth is really just taking a human being out of, if you're struggling with your health right now, maybe you're overweight, you're underweight, you have headaches, you're not sleeping well, you have gas and bloating, you're having trouble losing weight. Maybe you're anemic, maybe you've got Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, a lot of thyroid things going on, especially for women today. Trouble with bowel movements. A lot of clients, I look at bowel movement every day, every other day, every third day, every week. Okay, if you're not having a bowel movement every day, that's a major trouble sign. If you're not sleeping through the night, that's a major trouble sign. So we have all these, contributing factors that are, we have to really take a look at those things. We do if we truly want to be healthy, because we were talking about it earlier. Do you remember? It's like we see these clients come in, they got tons of money, but some of them, their health is it's terrible. year after year after year, you look at them, you can see the pain on their face. And I was one of them. You know, I had pain on my face, and I had pain when I went to the bathroom, and I had pain taking off my shirt, and it was painful, embarrassing, scrubbing people's couches and getting the blood off from my elbows bleeding. So
it's definitely no good. I mean, to be able to enjoy your life, right? To live an abundant life, right? You need to have these types of knowledge that can help you become, abundant and successful in what your life, what you dreamed or aspired it to be, and that's a lot of the things like what we do. We want our clients, the advisors want their clients with the solutions that we provide. We want them to look at the future with, not with apprehension, right? We don't want them to be like, my future's not really, we want them to look forward inspirationally, to aspire to what their future is going to look like, whether it's their health or their wealth.
Yeah. And have the energy to reach out and grab it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this, man? Let's just tell people how we hooked up, because I thought it was an interesting story. So it's like I started doing podcasts. I hired these podcast booking agency because I wanted to get on other podcasts and, maybe get some people on mine. And then I met you on that company, Interview Connections.
Yeah. So it was really crazy. I kept being bombarded with this company about like, hey, come employ us, if you will, and we'll be your booking agency, and we'll get you on podcasts so that you can tell the world, what it is that you do. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I had a few different interviews, and finally, it was literally right before, which is, had this not happened, had I not been pushed over the edge, so to speak, on deciding to use Interview Connections, then I wouldn't have done it when it happened. It was right before COVID really took place. And, as you know, Tim, you really have to sort of decide on what kind of outflow you're going to have on marketing costs and dollars out. And had this happened before, I would, not knowing what the future was going to hold on all this stuff, because if we don't have the ability to see and meet with clients, if our advisors can't see and meet with clients, then it's going to make it really, really difficult to incorporate and implement your solutions, right? So anyway, the Interview Connections thing, I decided, okay, let's move forward with it. And then from that, you reach out to me because they had reached out to you to have me be a guest on your podcast. And then you saw what I did, whether it was the website or what it was, I can't exactly remember what it was. And then you reach out to me, right? And then maybe you can tell the story on what I said to you during that very first initial conversation on what.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away because, well, basically we were chatting and you found out that I was a financial advisor prior to that. And I'm totally into health. And then you're like, I think I was trying to egg you on. I was like, dude, you should start your own podcast because, you have an awesome business. Like, again, if I was a financial advisor, even if I wasn't, if I was doing another business, I'd probably hire you to just show me your systems so I can recreate them for my industry.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I would have hired you, but then you're like, yeah, man, we should do this health and wealth podcast. And I'm like, whoa, because Jeff he had the Jeff Dixon show, and he started with one radio station here. And then I think he's ended up on 9 or 11 or 12 or something, wrote a book. It was my mentor in the financial services industry. I was like, well, dude, we should do this. I called my company Healthy Financial. That was the literally name. It's Healthy Financial. I had a big sign made, So I was really intrigued about that, doing that with him. And it just kind of petered out again because he semi-retired and then, he was busy doing the transition to the new, to the new guys coming in. So, and then you're like, yeah, we should do this health and wealth podcast. So I'm like, oh my God, that was my freaking idea before. Let's do it. I was just like, you have great energy. This will be fun. Let's freaking do it.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty cool because I had that terminology in my head, like living up there. And then, not that I'd ever said to my wife, hey, we should do a podcast or whatever. Now, you mentioned earlier on this podcast, for those who are listening, and hopefully everybody listens to the very end, and that you guys are getting some stuff from this, from podcast number 1. Again, mind you. we went live just recently, and it's something that we do on a regular basis now. And not everybody's comfortable getting on camera and, exposing yourself and you just putting yourself out there. But, we banter back and forth really, really well. But whenever you started talking about, sort of prodding me, like you said, like, hey, you should do your own podcast. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I would love to do my own podcast, but I don't really know where to start. I don't know. I just got this Interview Connections booking agency, so they could just book me to be a guest on these podcasts. I can share what I do, but I would love to do my own podcast. So that's whenever I said to you, and it just sort of like just hit me. I go, yeah, we should do like a health and wealth podcast.
Yeah. I'm telling everybody to do podcasts now for your book. Actually, one of my buddies, my local real estate agents, I hooked him up because my podcast producer is local, even though I don't use his studio that often because I do recordings off of Zoom or Skype or, Webinar Jam or whatever. Yep. But if anybody here is listening, besides doing marketing with Carter, there's, get a podcast rock and roll and hit us up and we'll put a link down below in the description where you can hit us up at, and we'll hook you up with our podcast producer. But it's pretty awesome that we put this thing together. I'm really excited about it. So right now we'll take one more quick break, and then when we get back, we'll give you guys some take home. We call it the love me list, right? Well, it'll be the love me list. You're gonna love the shit out of yourself, and we'll give you some tips and some tactics to stack some cash and to live long enough to enjoy it. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm health coach Tim James from chemicalfreebody.com. We're offering you a great opportunity to try our health coaching for free. So click on the Get Offer button to book a free 30-minute health coaching call. Also, as a thank you for booking with us, I'm going to give you this free copy of our Gut Detox Guide for you to download. This is a $67 value. You're going to love it. We use it with all our coaching clients. I use it myself. So book your health coaching call right now, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, Enrichers, I'm back here with my co-host, Carter Wilcoxon. I'm Tim James. And now we're going to give you guys some take-home, some home fun.
Yes.
The love me list, home fun, homework, call it whatever you want it, but some strategies, some hacks, whatever, to stack some cash and live long enough to spend it all.
Yeah.
Carter, why don't you go first? Let's give them some wealthy wealth hacks.
Well, so Enrichers, thank you for coming back and staying with us here for our first podcast during COVID. So, one of the tips that I like to share with my advisors is that there is a better way, right? I mean, you forever try to figure out how to get in front of your ideal clients, and there are some definitely some better ways, which is what we really pride ourselves in. So you want to make sure that you reach out to us. And I know we're going to put lots of information out there for you to reach out to find out more because there's a lot, right? There is definitely a whole lot. We are, and this is the number one tip that I'll give you guys. Remember that you are in the knowledge for profit business. So you've got to make sure that you have the proper knowledge so that you can inspire and aspire to be more and to be all that you can be. So, that's one of my, tips, if you will, for the day. That's the overarching theme. And then remember, you're in the relationship business. This is my key takeaway that I share with my advisors, is the best way to understand your client, to know your client, is to put yourself in their shoes, right? We get so busy sometimes selling what it is that we do that we forget that we're actually talking to other human beings. So you're in the relationship business. Never lose sight of the fact that you are in the relationship business. So, telling ain't selling. That's what my old mentor used to tell me all the time. So remember that you're actually creating a relationship, and you want to nurture those relationships. So never lose sight of the fact that you are in the relationship business.
Yeah.
And then, last and certainly not least, is that you don't have to always take risk, right? There are solutions that are out there that can completely eliminate risk and give you the true peace of mind and you can deliver true peace of mind. And as a perfect example, one of my most recent onboarded clients, my advisor, who's in Michigan, when he found out about the solutions that we can provide for his clients, he's like, well, everybody needs this. Like, who doesn't need what it is that you're talking about? And again, it was simply because he had been so used to working with the accumulation phase clientele that as he gets older, his clientele gets older, and then he starts like, okay, well now, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. There are actually solutions that you can incorporate into what you're already doing, but you can be able to balance that out a little bit better and be able to provide true peace of mind with solutions that can eliminate the risk that typically the markets are affording you to feel like you're forced into. So those are really my tips and tricks and some takeaways for you guys to take note of.
Awesome. All right, so get out your notepads or keep writing. So here's some health. This is the health tips that I'd like to share with you guys today. I call them our core 4 secrets. And, again, I've had thousands of people over to my house teaching them how to juice, make food and stuff like that. I've sold a lot of juicers. The problem is that as well as it worked for me, my buddy heals himself of cancer. We literally juiced ourselves back to health. I mean, twice a day without fail. I bought the $600 juicer. I made the juice twice a day. I was actually growing trays of sprouts and juicing sprouts, like a living juice, right? As soon as it was made, drink it on the spot. It's just like a freaking chipmunk eating something wild in the forest, right? So, and guess what? You start moving like a chipmunk, so it works. But anyway, these people would get these juicers and they'd like it, but then the juicer in a month or 2 or 3 would be under the cupboard. Nobody was using it anymore, right? They were done. And so I went and interviewed all these people, hundreds of them around town, because I had, at the time I had 2,500 active contacts in my phone that I was doing business with, right? So that's a lot of people. And I had a lot of these people over to my business professionals over to my house for these juicing classes. And I was like, why did you quit juicing? It works. You saw what happened to me. You saw what happened to Charles. They said, look, dude, it takes too long to do it. It's a little expensive. My wife doesn't want to do it for me, or my husband doesn't want to do it for me. And I'm like, you're supposed to do it for yourself. But anyway, so it just got shoved off. They didn't really realize the benefits. They hadn't been through what I'd been through. They weren't suffering maybe as bad as I was at the time, and hadn't been immersed at that institute like I had and committed to a friend that had cancer. So I had a whole different journey. Most people are just like eating the standard American diet, and then they come over and drink some juice and feel good and see some other people healing. It's not as dramatic as what I went through. So I get it now. So I went back to my drawing board and I was like, what could I do that would be the least amount of effort that would produce the most results for people? And this is what I'm about to share with you. And they're very important and they're life-changing. The first one, core secret number 1, is drinking half of your body weight in liquid ounces of purified water daily. And the key word there is purified. Now, if you live in the city, then that water also has to be restructured, because the city water goes through these high pressure pipes and gets coagulated. It's big. And your intestinal tract, think about the lining like a chain link fence. And these water molecules are the size of a bowling ball. They bounce off. They're not going to go through. So you just drink, even if you're drinking a lot of water, which was I was teaching people for 8.5 years. Now, mind you, I've been at this for 10 years. I learned this one 2.5 years ago. The water has to be restructured so that it becomes like sand and it goes right through the chain link fence. It gets into the digestive tract, through the intestinal lining, into the bloodstream. That's very important. Then it has to also get into the cell. So smaller water is better. Now, let's say you got all that handled. You got the purified and you got restructured if you're in the city. Now it's half your body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces a day. If you're a 100-pound individual, that's 50 ounces a day, just to maintain ideal health. That would count caffeine-free teas, purified water. If they drink like with the Green 85, our Green 85 juice formula with water, that would all count. Okay, that's our green juice replacement formula that you can make in seconds. But the whole idea here is that you can do it. You need to be able to have purified water, and it has to be a certain amount. Now, if you're in a hot climate or in an arid climate, and you exercise a lot, you might need to bump that up a little bit. Okay, less than 5% of the population, guys, is doing this. Think about that. Less than 5% of people are drinking adequate amounts of water. What's the big deal? Well, not having enough water is the difference between you looking around for your keys for 15 minutes or being able to find them and get out the door and get your appointment. It literally lowers your IQ. So if you want to be smarter, drink more water. The other reason is we're polluted today. All you have to do is, type in umbilical cord and the word chemical, and you'll see that there's studies going back to 2005 showing every single child being born and young mother, the healthiest of all of us, they're studying the umbilical cord blood, and guess what? They looked for 400 toxic chemicals. They found 250 on average. And 180 cause cancer in humans, and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. So that's when I sat back. I'm like, oh my God, we're freaking polluted. I mean, it's bad. Like, I'm freaked out. I'm like, and the older you are, the more it's had a chance to bioaccumulate. So in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you're really toxic. Just from the air you breathe and the water you drink and the food you eat and the shampoos and the deodorants. It's everywhere. Believe me, I'm not going to get into all that. But water is very important because it moves your waste removal system called your lymphatic system. It moves on movement, oxygen, and water. So you don't have a heart to pump your lymph, so you got to move your body and drink a lot of water. And the other big thing we mentioned earlier, because we were talking about colon hydrotherapy, where does your body go if it's low on water? Well, it goes to the colon. That's why people have so much colon cancer and there's so much issues. 85% of all disease, the Royal Society of Medicine said that it starts in the colon. 85%. I totally agree with them. Not drinking enough water, you're going to dehydrate your colon, and you're going to start that impacting process of that buildup. And you don't want that, because then you end up where me. I had leaky gut and I was bleeding. Hopefully you never get there. If you are where I'm at, you can turn it around like I did. So water's a big deal. Even your bones are 22% water. So drink a lot of it. It'll change your life.
The right kind of restructured water, right?
Yeah, not out of plastic bottles, not any of this other crap. Just purified water. If you don't have a purification machine, hit us up. We'll put some links down below. You can either reach out to me or Carter. Whether it's health or wealth or whatever question you want to ask us, it doesn't really matter. We'll try our best to answer it. He can answer some health questions, and I'll try to answer the financial ones. We'll do our best, or I'll forward it to him. But it's a big deal, dude. And less than 5% of people are doing this. So this is exciting. 95% of the people have major rooms for improvement. I had one client lose 50 pounds in 8 months just changing this one thing. Just one thing. That's it. Changing her water. That's all she did. She says, I started drinking water early in the morning, like you said, first thing in the morning before my coffee. And then eventually the coffee went away on her own. She didn't give it up. It gave her up. That's usually what happens, when people start turning things around. Water will give you a lot of freaking energy. It's ridiculous. And then when you get like the water that I have, like my badass water system, it's freaking triple purified. It's restructured. It's alkalized, and it's charged with molecular hydrogen. So I'm like supercharging myself all day long. It's awesome. And I'm 47 years old, and I've been able to maintain this lifestyle for 10 years. So water's probably one of the most important things you could do. All right, that's core secret number 1. Core secret number 2 is chewing your food until liquefied. What's the big deal about that? Well, if you don't chew your food, it kind of makes sense. It'll be bigger chunks, and it's going to take the stomach longer to process it. But besides that, you have 2 ducts in your upper mouth and 4 in your lower mouth that secrete enzymes amylase and lipase. And these are very important to break down your starches and your carbohydrate, starchy carbs and your fats, right? So you chew your food well, you load it with all these digestive enzymes, then they go down into the stomach and they shake and bake down there. And don't worry, the protein's going to get digested by the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin that's already in those 2 substances in there. So it's all going to get broken down. And then it's going to go through the duodenum, this 1-foot magic tube, and it's going to go from acid to alkaline, and then hopefully go into your intestinal tract and start the absorption process. Now, if you've chewed your food well, you've ensured that you're going to have good absorption in that intestinal tract, not fermentation and gut rot. When you don't chew your food, that's what you do get. You rot your gut. So it's imperative. And for those of you dealing with depression or want to be happier, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, medical doctor, he showed and teaches that when you stimulate the meridian points in your teeth by chewing a lot, you can actually uptake your serotonin or happy juice by up to 500%. Like, this is big stuff. It's like monumental just by chewing your food. What? Nobody haven't heard of this? Like I know when I heard it, I'm like, well, this is exciting. How many people would like to be happier? Simply chewing your food well will make you happier and prevent gut rot. And guess what? Less than 4% of the population is doing what I just said, chewing their food well. Mom knew. She told you chew your food, but you didn't do it. Now you got a big pot belly like I had. You want to get it off there? Start chewing your food. It'll get rid of gas and bloating and fermentation, because that fermentation is causing the gas and bloating. And you don't want that. We don't want that for you. So we want you to heal your gut. So chew your food really well, and it's going to change your life. Core secret number 3, Now that you're chewing your food well, and putting those enzymes down there in your gut, and you want to then avoid liquids with meals. This is huge. Why? Why would I want to do that? I always have liquids with my meals. Well, me too, until I heard this. It's because you worked really hard to put all those enzymes in there. And then even if you drink the best, highest quality, purified, restructured water with all the good stuff, you're still going to dilute those digestive enzymes, and you're going to go back to fermentation and gut rot in the intestinal tract. And that's not what you want. So it doesn't matter if it's water, it doesn't matter if it's wine or beer or apple juice or orange juice. Avoid liquids. For beginners, stop drinking liquids a half an hour before, and then wait an hour after, and then drink a lot. If you have stage 4 something, you're an Olympic level athlete, you want to look super young or have extra energy, then stop drinking liquids an hour before, and then wait 2 hours after you eat, and then drink a whole bunch again. Get back on the good liquid train after that. And that's it. Less than 2% of the population is doing that. It's another game changer. Gas and bloating, I can't even tell you. It's huge. You're going to live longer. Your skin's going to look better. Carter, how good's my skin look?
Dude, I thought you were still 37. I was trying to
Come
figure
on, dude. Where's the 27?
That's whenever I was 37 years old. I'm like, wait a second, aren't you still 37?
No, I don't mean that to be braggadocious at all, because I started getting these comments from people about my skin glowing and all this stuff. And as a redneck, meat-eating, chewing Copenhagen and, that kind of stuff, and whiskey drinking and beer drinking, I know, back in the day, it was hard to take that. But now I'm proud of it. Why? Because I've taken care of my intestinal tract. The things that I'm telling you guys, if you want to have healthy skin, you want to look young and feel good, screw the creams and the makeups and all that stuff. It's take care of your gut, and our clients look 5 years younger in 6 months. And I always tell the bare minimums. Like, a lot of people do better than that, but I'm just like, worst case, if you follow these protocols, this is what's going to happen. The other thing, and then again, and a huge room for improvement. 98% of the population is not avoiding liquids with meals. And I know there's social interactions. The waiters and waitresses can be like, hey, what do you want to eat? And sorry, I want freaking badass skin. Right? I want to be healthy. I want to be around for my children. I don't want to get cancer. I want this stuff. I'm going to bulletproof my immune system. So, birthdays, parties, Halloween, whatever, weekends, New Year's, these things happen. We're human, but it's the constant daily stuff. So if you can build the habit of avoiding liquids with meals, it's going to go a long way for your health. And then the last one, core secret number 4, now that you've done all these other things, before you eat, just do some breath work. That's it. Some breath exercises. It's easy, because we're stressed out, especially for you advisors out there, you business professionals, entrepreneurs out there, or just regular folks dealing with bills and kids and mortgage and all that stuff. There's a lot of stress today. And COVID, geez, that's turn the news on if you want to raise your cortisol levels and blow out your adrenals. And please shut that off, by the way.
Oh, no.
So it's really important that we do some breath work. Why? Because when you're in fight or flight mode, which you are, even if you think you're not, you actually raise your cortisol levels, you're blowing out your adrenals, and the blood leaves your gut and your organ systems to go out to your extremities to fight or flight, to run. So it's not going to digest your food as well as it could. So simply by taking a big breath in through the nose like this, pause at the top, and being thankful for your food, the people you're with, and the opportunity that you have in front of you with your career and the relationships you have, and then let it out. And, repeat that process a few times, just for a minute or two. The blood will rush from the extremities back into the organ systems. And I promise you, enrichers, that you will have less gas, less bloating. You'll digest your food better. And you'll reduce stress in your life, and you'll lower your blood pressure. And that's a tool you can take with you anytime you're stressed, not just when you're eating. Less than 1% of the population is doing that. And in my coaching program now, we do breath work at the beginning of a call, and we do breath work at the end of a call to teach that habit. It's the hardest one for people to do. But those are the core 4. They don't cost a lot, except maybe the water deal to get that started. If you have questions on water, reach out to me. I'll get you hooked up with Danusha, as I call her, water woman. And we'll get you hooked up with her. Other than that, if you have questions for me or Carter, you can reach out to us. Carter, was there anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, the only thing I want to talk about is we keep talking about our audience are the enrichers. Why are we calling you guys the enrichers? Why are Tim and I on here together doing the health and wellness?
We forgot about that part.
Yeah, but here's the good news.
There it is.
We know that everybody stayed on right now wondering, why do they keep calling us the enrichers? So, there's a definition. There's a reason why we're calling you enrichers. We want to enrich your life. That's why we're doing the health and wealth podcast. They are interconnected on being able to have an enriched life. So we want to call you enrichers, because during this podcast and during each and every podcast, we're going to enrich your lives with knowledge, with tips, tricks. We're going to give you things that nobody else is telling you about, stuff that conventional wisdom you've always made assumptions on. I know on my side of the equation, 83% of the Americans that we help out don't have a necessary tool that you're going to learn about. 83% don't have it. And those who do don't have it the right way. So you're going to be enriched. So we're calling you enrichers because we are going to enrich you with knowledge that is going to make your life better and live a long, more prosperous life.
Yeah, and we're also going to share with you real world failures. You know, what hasn't worked for us, things to look out for, and give you results. And the other thing that's really cool about this is, like, when you enrich yourself, you're actually enriching those people around you. You're the people that you care about most. Your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, your grandparents, nieces, nephews, friends, anybody that's important in your life, because they're going to see the changes in you. They're going to see your health improve. And as your health improves, I mean, I guarantee you this, because Carter, you know this, like, when I coach people on their health, I would never did it to help them with money. But guess what? The people that were commission-based or own businesses, within 6 months, their income was usually up about 21%. Wonder why? Like you said, they're connected. You got more energy. You got more vitality. You're vibrating at a higher level. You have more frequency. People are going to want to do business with you. And you're going to have the energy to get on there on time and not be late and make it to the appointments and make the extra calls and do what you need to do when you need to do it, so that the universe can reflect that abundance back to you. And speaking of abundance, before we go, we're talking about health and wealth. Okay. These are two very valid forms of abundance, but we don't want you to think that these are the only two forms of abundance, because there's many more. Relationships, just as important. Your relationship with self. Good Lord, how much human beings are masters at being hard on ourselves and putting ourselves down. Good Lord, we're good at it, right? You have, so relationship with self, relationship with others. You have your spirituality, right? You know, with your connection with the higher power, he, she, it, whatever you want to, that's cool. And then you've got your health, right? We got that. We got health and wealth. And your career. Okay, your career. What are you doing? Or, you know, what is it that gets you really excited? Maybe you're a financial advisor and you're like, I really want to be a good financial advisor now. And it's time to not just. Or maybe you're a financial advisor and you want to become a health coach like I did. Or maybe you're listening, you're a CPA and you're like, you know what? I want to become a financial advisor. I'm going to hire Carter, because I got a bunch of clients here in my CPA business that I can already help. They love me more than my advisor, and I'm going to hire him, and I'm going to grow my business like crazy, right? Whatever that is, we want to create new ideas and get you to look at things differently. And I really want to help on the health end, because I geek out on this shit. Like this, I live it. I'm trying another supplement now from another. I'm always experimenting on myself. I'm doing detoxes. If you guys want to follow along, which hopefully you will, I'm going to have you doing all kinds of cleanses. Well, if you got candida, I'll show you how to tell. It's a free test. It saves you $250. You can do it at home. I'll show you how to get it out. I'll show you how to get gallstones and kidney stones out of your body. Well, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Carter, you in on that one?
I'm all in, baby.
All right, baby. We'll be doing it together. So there's all kinds of cool stuff on the health side and on the wealth side that we'll be helping you with. But to remember that we're going to be talking about all of it, because we want you to know that there's all forms of abundance and they're all connected. But the main focus here, we're going to focus on health and wealth, and we're going to lift all boats with that. All right. Anything else you'd like to say before we tune off, buddy?
Hey, I just want to say that it's been exciting to do my very first podcast ever. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chemical Free Body, Tim James, the man that has really compelled me to want to do this as well, and inspired me to want to be healthier, not only for myself, but obviously for my family.
Awesome. Well, if you could please tell Christina, thank you for allowing you to do this. That would be great.
Absolutely. We'll talk about all the ladies.
She's awesome. No, bro, seriously, I'm really excited to do this podcast with you too, because you got super high energy. You got a lot to get, a lot of value and a lot to give to people. So, and we're going to bring it every week, guys. So until next time, make sure you enrich your life as you enrich the lives of others. And Carter, you can take us out, bro.
Hey, everybody, enrichers, thank you very much for being here. For Tim James, I'm Carter Wilcoxon, co-host of the Health and Wealth Podcast. Everybody have a phenomenal rest of your day.
Take it easy.
Hey, enrichers, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James, and by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.